down, please, as we're about to start the next session. It's been an amazing afternoon kicking off here at the Westin. We had amazing panel discussions on hydrogen and the potential for exploration and extraction in our key markets. We're very grateful to have the presence of His Excellency, Dr. Ramokgopa, as well as His Excellency, Nani Kruger, who graced us this afternoon. Continuing off on the conversations around fostering engagement and partnerships and collaboration for Africa's energy renaissance, I am pleased to present to you the opening panel session at this time, titled Powering Africa's Future, Collaborative Energy Solution, organized by Rosatom and Gazprom. As Africa continues to experience rapid economic growth and industrial development, there is an increasing need for sustainable development and collaborative energy solutions. Rosatom and Gazprom are industry leaders in this regard, with many years of experience in implementing complex infrastructure projects both on the African continent and beyond. Powering Africa's Future aims to address these pressing issues by bringing together key industry players, policymakers, and experts to explore innovative strategies and foster partnerships. I am pleased to invite to you the moderator for this session, Mr. Ryan Collyer, CEO of RCSA Energy. A round of applause, please.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, and esteemed industry leaders. We are gathered all here today for a pivotal event, Powering Africa's Future, Collaborative Energy Solutions, which marks an extraordinary convergence of minds, ideas, and visions aimed at nurturing a prosperous and sustainable energy future for our bright, vibrant continent, Africa. Allow me to invoke the profound wisdom of an African proverb that beautifully encapsulates the essence of our gathering. If you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. This ancient wisdom echoes loudly in the corridors of innovation and collaboration, guiding our footsteps as we embark on a collaborative journey to transform Africa's energy landscape. In the spirit of this proverb, we at Rosatom, along with our esteemed partners, are committed to moving forward together, hand in hand with our African partners, embarking on a journey marked by mutual growth, shared knowledge, and collective prosperity. Localization is not just a strategic objective, but a passionate commitment for us at Rosatom, emphasizing our dedication to nurturing local talents, industries, and communities. We are here to engage, discuss, and collectively chart the course towards a future where sustainable energy solutions empower nations, ignite industries, and enrich communities. Together, let us explore the infinite possibilities, unlock unprecedented potentials, and weave the fabric of an energy-empowered Africa, marked by resilience, innovation, and prosperity. Let us now delve into a realm of insightful discussions, enriched by a vast reservoir of knowledge and expertise brought forth by our distinguished panel of speakers and experts. The stage is set for a symphony of minds, where ideas resonate, collaborations flourish, and the future of the African energy unfolds in all of its promising hues. I would now like to take the opportunity to call up our panelists for today. I'd like to start with Mr. Boris Arseev, Division Deputy Head, International Business Director, Rosatom. Mr. Ilya Vergizaev, First Deputy Director General, Executive Director, Rosatom Energy Projects. Grin Evgeniy, Deputy Head of Division, International Business Department, Gazprom. Mr. Francis Carruthers, CEO, Lesedi Nuclear Services. Professor Jan Neethling, Director of the Center for High Resolution Transmission Electron Microscopy. It's a mouthful. Nelson Mandela Bay University. Nosizwe Nokwe Makamo, Executive Chairman, Raise Africa Investments. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed guests, it is an immense honor to introduce a distinguished individual who embodies the spirit of friendship, cooperation, and mutual understanding between the Russian Federation and the Republic of South Africa, as well as the Kingdom of Lesotho. An esteemed diplomat, a passionate advocate for strengthening ties, and a person of remarkable integrity and wisdom. His Excellency, Mr. Rogachev, the Ambassador of the Russian Federation in South Africa and the Kingdom of Lesotho, carries with him a wealth of experience, insights, and a profound understanding of the synergies that underpin the partnership between our nations. He stands as a symbol of friendly ties, shared visions, and the spirit of unity and cooperation that propel our nations towards a future marked by prosperity, sustainability, and development. Without further ado, let us extend a warmest welcome, appreciation, and attentiveness to His Excellency, Mr. Ilya Rogachev, the Ambassador of the Russian Federation in South Africa.
I'm a bit confused. Whom were you talking about lately? Okay, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues and friends, it is an honor to address you today at this event on the subject matter that you know everything about, and myself, nothing. But this is what we diplomats often do, so I don't feel being an exception. This esteemed gathering here is not merely a convention of minds, but also a collection of visions, aspirations, united by desire to illuminate the African continent with the brilliance of sustainable energy solutions. As we navigate the pathways of innovation and collaboration, let us not lose sight of the solid bedrock upon which our journeys have been forged, the unwavering friendship between Russia and South Africa. Our histories intertwine based on mutual interest, respect, and shared aspirations. Our friendship has been a tapestry woven with threads of resilience, aspiration for justice, and an unwavering commitment to the principles of equality and mutual respect. South Africa, a gem of the African continent, graced with breathtaking landscapes and rich with a diverse and vibrant society, finds itself at a crossroads. The infamous load shedding casts uncertainties and poses significant challenges to the well-being and progress of its wonderful people. Deficit of energy is a challenge to the fast-growing population, as well to the plans to attract investment and ensure rapid economic growth, to provide people with jobs and enhanced living standards. Russians extend not just hands, but hearts and minds, filled with a sincere desire to help alleviate the looming crisis. Our collaboration is more than a sympathizing partnership. It is a combination of technologies, expertise, and shared visions, played in harmony to compose a brighter, more sustainable future for South Africa and the broader African continent. In the spirit of friendship and solidarity, companies like Rosatom and Gazprom have embarked on a mission to unlock the boundless potentials of energy solutions that resonate so well with the concepts of sustainability, innovation, and reliability. Together, we envision an Africa where every household and industry is filled with secure and sustainable energy. I thank you for being architects of this inspiring vision And thank you also for your unwavering commitment to powering Africa's radiant future. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ambassador, for those enlightening words and for setting a collaborative tone for this session. Ladies and gentlemen, it is with great honor that I will now welcome an esteemed leader in the global nuclear industry, Mr. Kiril Komarov, the first Deputy Director General for the Corporate Development and International Business of the State Atomic Energy Corporation, Rosatom, and the Director of Atom Energoprom. Mr. Komarov's dedication and significant contributions to the nuclear industry have been steadfast since 2006, holding pivotal executive positions, shaping strategies, and fostering international business development. Entrusted with overseeing Rosatom's foreign business activities, his leadership has been instrumental in steering one of the world's technological pioneers with exceptional vision and expertise. Not just a celebrated industry leader, Mr. Komarov also brings a rich academic perspective with a PhD in law and his dynamic roles such as the prestigious position of having been the World Nuclear Association chairman and currently its vice chairman speak volumes of his global influence and commitment to excellence in the nuclear industry. We are privileged to have Mr. Komarov share his invaluable insights and vast experience with us today. Please join me in welcoming a stalwart of the nuclear industry, Mr. Kiril Komarov.
Good afternoon, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, partners. I'm honored and privileged to stand before you today at the African Energy Week 2023 in the city of Cape Town. I express my sincere gratitude to all who are present, and I would especially like to acknowledge the organizers of containing such an impactful event. Today we convene for a subject of profound significance, powering Africa's future, collaborative energy solutions. As we gather on the sidelines of this international forum, I'm really excited to witness the synergy of two industry giants, Rosatom and Gazprom. This collaboration, I believe, holds the promise to reshape Africa's energy landscape. Africa stands on the cusp of a dynamic energy transformation. The continent's energy markets are buzzing with growth, innovation, and potential. However, alongside this progress, the specter of energy poverty casts a long shadow, impeding the path to the comprehensive development. But therein lies our shared vision. Rosatom, backed by decades of experience in complex infrastructure projects, brings forth cutting-edge energy solutions that are not only sustainable but also environmentally friendly. Our portfolio, spanning from nuclear power plants to research reactor and radiation technologies, as well as other energy sources, showcases our commitment to tailor-made solutions that cater to unique energy needs. Our dedication to Africa is unwavering. As an emblem of this commitment, our partnership on the continent have always been based on mutual respect, understanding, and a shared vision for a brighter, energy-sufficient future. It's not just about business, it's about aiding a continent we deeply care for. Now, with the combined expertise of Gazprom in the oil and gas sectors, we aim to tap into the vast technological synergies between our industries. What can be the result, you can ask? A collaborative effort to alleviate energy poverty and usher in an era of sustainable development across Africa. Historical ties between Russia and Africa have been rooted in a friendship, trust, and mutual growth. We have weathered storms together, celebrated successes, and have been pillars of support for one another. It is this deep-rooted relationship that we hope to fortify even further through our energy initiatives. Ladies and gentlemen, the road ahead is filled with challenges, but with challenges come opportunities. Through collaboration, innovation, and a genuine desire to make a difference, I believe we can power Africa's future, one step at a time. Thank you for being part of this journey. I look forward to insightful discussion and the formulation of a strategy that will not only benefit our industry, but the entire African continent. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Komarov, for highlighting the transformative impact of synergy and collaboration in ushering in an era of energy abundance and sustainable development in Africa. Ladies and gentlemen, esteemed colleagues and distinguished guests, we are about to be graced with a message from a remarkable figure in the global energy landscape, Mr. Dmitry Khandoga. As the head of the International Business Department of Gazprom and the Director General of Gazprom Export Company, Mr. Khandoga embodies a wealth of experience and broad spectrum of insights into the energy industry. His role at the forefront of Gazprom's international business spectrum has seen pivotal contributions, driving innovation and strategic partnerships that transcend boundaries. Today, he joins us through a video address, sharing his valuable perspectives that will undoubtedly enrich our discussions.
Dear colleagues, dear friends, I'm happy to greet you all here, though in this virtual format. Today's roundtable aims to reveal the potential that Russia's leading energy industries, namely gas and nuclear, can offer to African partners. I consider this meeting very important. Here I represent Gazprom, a global energy major that deals not only with gas exploration, production, processing and marketing, but also with production and sales of thermal and power energy. Gazprom holds second place in terms of installed power generation capacity in Russia. It has over 37,000 megawatts of installed capacity of power plants. The majority of this power is generated from natural gas. Earlier today, speaking at African Energy Week session, I mentioned that the world has entered into a real race for combating climate change and achieving so-called net zero CO2 emissions. Listening to the speakers from many Western energy companies and think tanks, you might get an impression that this is the only way towards energy transition, which is to give up fossil fuels and the so-called peaceful atom as quickly as possible, and to focus solely on the renewables. In Russia, we are skeptical about this idea. We are convinced that the only energy transition can and should vary depending on the regions and countries, on their economies and energy industry realities, on social needs, and on availability of local and imported resources and technologies. The Russian Federation managed to create an efficient, safe, and climate-friendly energy system, where gas provides about a half of produced power and nuclear stations cover about 20% of it. On top of that, the regions of Russia are located in different natural and climate zones, with temperature fluctuations from +40 to -60 degrees Celsius. This expertise could be applied for African countries as well, where energy consumption per capita is 5 times less than the global average and 20 times less than the US average. In addition, energy demand in Africa will definitely grow fast in the coming decades, which calls for all available sources and resources. So there is no excuse for the fact that energy wealth in the continent is still being exported to Western countries. We fully understand that the top priority for African countries is to get access to energy in the cheapest and easiest way. When dealing with energy poverty, we are obliged to give the utmost importance to social and economic impact for every solution. The expertise of Russian companies can help to fully explore energy potential on the continent, leading to its own path for the energy transition, and to the smart and consequent exit from use of coal and oil products in power generation. Along with the general issue of energy poverty, African countries deal with a number of other problems where gas can help too. First is air pollution in modern cities, a serious issue that will only get worse if necessary steps are not taken now. Switch from coal and oil to gas and power generation and using gas on transport can help to improve air quality in populated urban areas. The second issue is blackouts and stability of power supplies. Africa definitely lacks developed power grids and sufficient flexible generation capacity. With this, when even a small amount of renewable plants is connected to the grid, their volatility and unpredictability can only aggravate risks of blackouts. Gas power plants being secure and flexible can help to achieve the stable power supply in the most efficient manner. We are convinced that gas and nuclear power together can bring light in every corner of this continent. We are not only the bridge fuels on the way to fully renewable economy so much praised by West. They can also be the destination fuels for a number of countries and regions. In this respect, here is the right place for leading Russian companies of both segments to discuss the real working solutions for energy supply in Africa. It is always useful and efficient to look for cooperation chances than to oppose single fuels to each other. What we have learned from the global expertise so far is that a single energy source cannot be the base for creation of a secure, flexible, and efficient modern energy system. I wish all the participants to have a fruitful discussion and to find new solutions for the benefit of Africa.
Would you like some water?
Thank you very much, Mr. Khandoga, and to Gazprom. I think he touched on some very pertinent issues in his speech, particularly around a just energy transition. To kick off our session today, it is my immense honor to introduce Mr. Boris Arseev from Rosatom State Corporation. Mr. Arseev is in charge of Rosatom's global strategy, including active promotion in its technologies in the global markets. He navigates Rosatom's global competitive advantage so that it is utilized to maximum extent in customers' interests. Mr. Arseev has extensive experience in various roles in business development and project management since he joined the nuclear industry in 2008. Mr. Arseev brings a wealth of knowledge on nuclear energy technologies. Boris, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ryan. Ladies and gentlemen, dear distinguished guests, my name is Boris Arseev, and as International Business Director, I represent State Atomic Energy Corporation, Rosatom. As Mr. Komarov mentioned, Rosatom is a global technological company. In our backlog, we have an extensive product line of energy solutions for the interstate population, specializing in high technology and low carbon energy. Rosatom accumulates competences in the field of nuclear energy, wind and hydropower, thermal power plants, participates in projects in the oil and gas sector. We also develop hydrogen energy and promote technologies in the field of energy storage system. For over the decades, we have developed a historic and long-standing cooperation with Africa. Now we have quite a number of ongoing projects on the whole continent, from fuel supply and service for already existing facilities to the construction of the new and modern NPPs. Nowadays, we see a huge renaissance for nuclear technologies in Africa and work with a number of countries on developing solutions to address different spheres of life. Besides energy, it covers healthcare and agriculture. Today, the biggest nuclear project in the region is the construction of El Debaa nuclear power plant in Egypt. It consists of 4 units with a total capacity 4.8 megawatts. It is the largest Russian, gigawatts, of course, gigawatts. It consists of, and it is the largest Russian-Egyptian project since the construction of Aswan Dam that was done in 1960s, then 1970s, By the end of this year, it will be all 4 units in full construction mode. With 4.8 gigawatt total capacity, it will cover up to 30% of electricity demand of the country. In total, with LDBA, now we have 22 units in 7 countries at different stages of construction. On this slide, you can see our recent milestones on just 3 of our nuclear power plants as an example of the scale of our work. This year, we had already supplied first fuel to 2 of our nuclear power plants, to Turkey in April this year and Bangladesh less than 2 weeks ago. After that, both countries officially joined the Nuclear Energy Countries Club. This May in Belarus, the Russian-designed nuclear power plant was connected to the grid and has already delivered the first electricity to the country's unified energy system. The Belarusian nuclear power plant becomes the 80th unit Rosatom connected to the grid in the last 18 years. As the world's leader in nuclear power plant construction abroad, we have a wide range of knowledge about the life cycle of nuclear power plant from construction, operation, and decommissioning. And the total foreign portfolio of Rosatom consists of 33 units in 10 countries. Speaking about our home, what we are doing. In Russia, we operate 37 units. In 2022, our share in total electricity generation of Russia was 20%, based on nuclear power and a small new part of wind energy. And by the way, in 2025, we are going to celebrate the 80th anniversary of nuclear technologies in Russia. It's a huge experience, and a huge experience for our new partners, for newcomer countries, and for our old partners. Speaking about new technologies, and especially of SMR solutions, as a leading company in nuclear, we always strive to develop new technologies. We see huge potential of SMR solutions, both in land-based and floating designs. In May 2020, we put into operation the first of the kind floating NPP, Academic Lomonosov, in the northern part of Russia. Today, we are constructing another 4 floating NPPs in the same area and 1 land-based SMR in Yakutia. In parallel, we develop micro-solutions like Shelf M unit that is up to 10 megawatts. SMR have the same advantages as traditional large nuclear solutions: zero CO2 emissions, predictable costs, independence from weather conditions, multi-purpose use. The compact size of SMR significantly reduces the overall capital and operating costs, as well as construction time. At the same time, Rosatom is not only about nuclear. We focus on the development of green energy technologies in different business models. We are the largest operator of wind farms in Russia, with an installed capacity of over 1 gigawatt. Rosatom is not only a developer, but also a manufacturer of key equipment, including wind turbines. We enter foreign markets with the comprehensive wind power plant construction project, with the wind farms ready to operate in 3 years. Here I want to emphasize, there is no space for competition between nuclear generation and wind power. Nuclear power plants and wind farms cover different needs: base load and peak generation, different scale of energy volume, and different terms. Rosatom also has experience in the integrated introduction of hydropower facilities. We supply equipment for small hydroelectric power plants and ready to provide support for the entire housing projects. Rosatom is one of the largest suppliers of efficient technological solutions for the oil and gas industry in Russia and abroad. Our companies have many years of experience in the design and production of equipment for oil, gas, petrochemical, transportation of energy resources, and water treatment. We deliver static equipment, namely reactors, columns, heat exchange equipment, and dynamic equipment, different types of pumps and compressors. We are also one of the key participants in the implementation of the Russian government's roadmap for development of domestic LNG technologies, Yamal LNG, Arctic LNG. We have been successfully working in this direction for a long time with colleagues from Gazprom in Russia, and we are ready to make joint proposals for the African market. As in the nuclear power industry, Rosatom has a fundamental approach to solutions for the oil and gas industry. As an example of this approach, I will tell you about the test bench of pumping equipment. In 2021, the construction of the fourth in the world and the first in Europe stand complex was completed, which allows testing several types of critical LNG equipment in the hardest conditions. In the end of my presentation, I would like to highlight that we pay great attention to the compliance of its products with the Sustainable Development Agenda in its activities. In particular, we directly influence the achievements of a number of SDGs, including clean energy, climate change, developing innovation and infrastructure, and generally improving the quality of life of the population. Today, we will go in more details into our individual solutions for electric power industry and the oil and gas industry. Rosatom always stands for the safe and secure technologies and comprehensive solutions. And we are ready to be the infrastructure partner for Africa in this area. I would like to thank you all for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Arseev, for that insightful presentation. At Rosatom, local partnerships is vitally important to us. I would therefore like to introduce one of our local experts, and Professor Jan Neethling. He holds the esteemed position of Director at the Center for High Resolution Transmission Electron Microscopy since 2010, and a professor in physics department at the Nelson Mandela Bay University since 2003. Prof. Neethling's groundbreaking research focuses on uncovering the intricate characteristics of materials, primarily employing transmission electron microscopy. Adorned with numerous awards, including the prestigious Ernest Oppenheimer Gold Medal and the Honorary Medal of the South African Academy of Science and Arts in Science and Technology. Professor Neethling's contributions have been nothing short of remarkable. Professor Neethling, I would like to ask you to perhaps enlighten us in some of the cooperation you've had already with Russia, and then perhaps comment on Boris's presentation in terms of how you foresee nuclear playing a role in Africa going forward. Thank you.
So thank you, Ryan, for the opportunity to address the delegates. I also just want to say welcome, ladies and gentlemen, and a special warm welcome to all the Russian delegates. I know it's far from South Africa where you live, but I'm very glad to see so many here. So I'll just give a short overview of history. Ryan has already given enough information, but Let me just start here. In 2010, I established a National Center for High Resolution Transmission Electron Microscopy. So we have 4 very advanced microscopes, the only center in the whole of Africa where we can basically see atoms and how they behave in materials. And this is very important for nuclear reactors because the safety of a reactor always depends on how good the materials are, and to ensure that radioactive elements will not leak out. And so as a result of these instruments, we collaborate with 30 institutions across 14 countries. And in South Africa, we provide services to all the major industries, for example, Eskom and Sasol, Hulamin and Element 6, and also all the universities involved in research. So my involvement in nuclear energy started in 2006 when I was contracted by the South African Pebble Bed modular reactor company to analyze and test the fuel particles that they used in these, or were supposed to be used in this South African reactor. So we are still working on the fuel particles after they were irradiated in the US, and we have learned a lot and also provided insight in certain aspects where people could not understand, for example, how some of the radioactive fission products could leak out after some years, and we have been able to identify the mechanism because we can almost identify individual atoms as they behave in these materials. In 2011, we started a very successful collaboration with the Joint Institute for Nuclear Research in Dubna. We have produced more than 55 joint journal articles and many conference talks, as well as conference awards. The research focus is on fuel cladding materials for water-cooled reactors and inert matrix fuel hosts for the burning of nuclear waste in fast reactors. The team includes a number of universities in Russia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, and Serbia. So this is actually a very strong team because it combines really top experimental facilities together with modeling expertise. And, you know, we've also been able to support many students in South Africa and in Russia. So the reason why this is mutually beneficial collaboration is because we have unique instruments in South Africa, and in Dubna they have these ion implanters. It means that they have machines which can shoot heavy atoms at very high energies into materials to simulate what would happen to these materials in a reactor environment. So this is really very good research. Now, my solution to the energy crisis in South Africa, I think you all know how we ended up here, but it will not help to go down that route. You know, I believe it's important to fix the old coal power plants and add additional nuclear energy. That is the best immediate solution. We have seen just in the previous talk the very well-designed large nuclear reactors, but I just want to mention something about the SMRs, which is the small modular reactor. Although as a scientist I'm very interested in all types of nuclear designs, from the water-cooled, the gas-cooled, the lead-cooled, the salt-cooled, you know, thermal and fast reactors. But one must be realistic. What is important for South Africa is to add electricity fast. And therefore, although we can dream to be involved in these advanced reactors in future, also I think a floating reactor, which is a SMR, it's basically 100 megawatts electricity in a barge that they can bring to a harbor all around Africa, actually. And, you know, this can happen quite fast, and the advantage is that after a number of years, the reactor is just replaced, so the waste goes back to Russia, where they can process it and eventually burn it in a fast reactor. And with this electricity, then one can produce green hydrogen, one can also make methanol, synthetic fuel, like, for example, petrol, as well as green fertilizer. Some people would call it pink hydrogen, but, you know, let's stick to the green hydrogen. So I strongly support increased research collaboration with Russia on nuclear reactor and fuel technologies, and this can include the water-cooled SMRs, a gas-cooled HER, like what South Africa wanted to do. You know, there are some activities in Russia also, and we can collaborate on the fuel part, and then eventually also fast reactors. This collaboration will be of great benefit to the students and academics in South Africa. So thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Professor Neethling, for those interesting words and for reinforcing the promising prospects of nuclear energy technologies in South Africa and in Africa. I'm now pleased to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Evgeniy Grin from Gazprom, with extensive experience in gas-to-power, hydrogen, and various natural gas-related activities. Mr. Grin will elaborate on the crucial role of natural gas in Africa's reliable and clean development.
Yes, hello, thank you for the opportunity to be a part of this session. Dmitry Khandoga has already introduced Gazprom, but I want to underline that we own more than 37 gigawatts of power plant capacities that mostly worked on natural gas. And these capacities contribute a lot to Russian energy balance, and together with nuclear power made it one of the lowest carbon-intensive energy systems in the world. You can see that Africa as well in a position to have quite clean energy balance, thanks for the 40% share of natural gas. But minimal CO2 emissions is not only an advantage of natural gas. I believe you know about energy triangle concept. A balance between affordability, which is, I believe, crucial for Africa, security of supply, which is most crucial for Russia, and green and clean aspect that is the most crucial for the West countries. We see natural gas can solve this trilemma in a balanced way. Affordability. If you have a domestic gas, it shouldn't be affordable to use it as baseload and balancing source of energy. It would be cheapest source of energy. But LNG can also be affordable. Yesterday, we see a presentation of Restart Energy that demonstrated that wind and solar are the most affordable source of energy. But they forgot to mention they didn't consider system cost of RES integration, cost of energy storage and backup, cost of creation huge transmission infrastructure. And they used quite low cost of capital when calculated these prices. If your cost of capital is more than 10%, that I believe is the case for Africa, LNG-based generation became to be price competitive with renewable source of energy due to the low capital intensity and low part of capex in all the cost of electricity. Reliability. I understand that Africa has a problem with blackouts, with load shedding that can be mitigated by addition of gas-fired generation, reliable source of mid-merit and peaking energy. And green and clean part. As I said, gas is the cleanest among fossil fuels and may become not only transitional but destination fuel. But there is another advantage that is not so global. Natural gas can remove local emissions and smoke from the cities of Africa. Gas has 7 times lower toxic footprint comparing to gasoline for transport. Gas has much lower NOx, SOx, and particulate emission when using in power generation, and significantly fewer emission comparing to using wood for cooking, for example. So direct use of gas also has advantage. So the gas can be a solution, but how can we make this solution work? We see from the chart on that lots of African countries have domestic gas reserves, and a lot of them have already produced gas. The problem is in the possibility to attract financing for the new gas project. One of the solutions may be cross-subsidization of domestic gas supplies from export. It can be a solution that we applied in Russia when Gazprom is a company who sells gas for export and use the revenues of this gas to stimulate domestic supply, to create domestic infrastructure, and to supply people of Russia with cheap gas. State support via coordination of stakeholders can also help. For example, in South Africa, when you have tenders for LNG supply and LNG infrastructure development, which are not really successful. We believe that state coordination of power companies, gas companies, and infrastructure providers can result in risk reduction for potential supplier of LNG solution and can bring LNG to South Africa. Another problem is that global financial institutions are moving away from financing fossil fuel projects. So to attract financing, we need to show and promote an emission reduction potential of natural gas and show that it can be an ultimate solution in the future. For example, you can use gas turbines that may be transferable to hydrogen use turbines. And it shows that gas may be a solution for energy transition. Also, we need in Africa can use potential for carbon financing in climate projects. This is huge potential for climate projects, for forestation and avoiding deforestation and other. Also, we believe interstate cooperation for infrastructure projects like pipelines, like small-scale LNG may help. If one country has a gas, it can be supplied to another African country, not to the rich European or Asian country. And the last, but not the least, that development of local engineering competence and technologies may help to promote natural gas usage in Africa. And this is definitely where Russia can help. The last, this is my last slide, that gas can be also used to produce varieties of goods, including, for example, clean hydrogen, so-called blue hydrogen, or turquoise hydrogen, and help to further boost economic development of African countries by moving further through value chain. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Grin, for those insights. Ladies and gentlemen, it is a tremendous honor to introduce one of our esteemed guests, Ms. Nosizwe Nokwe Makamo. With a distinguished career that bridges the realms of engineering and executive leadership, Ms. Nokwe Makamo embodies the pinnacle of professional excellence and industry expertise. Armed with a wealth of knowledge from revered institutions and significant roles in companies like Engen and PetroSA, she has curated a legacy marked by innovation, leadership, and unparalleled achievements. Today, as the executive chairman of Raise Africa Investments, she brings a profound wealth of insight to our discussion. Ms. Nokwe Makamo, we are eager to hear your invaluable perspectives from your experience as well as on the presentation today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Is it on? Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, esteemed guests. Good afternoon, Ambassador. Yes, I'm very excited to be here. We, as articulated earlier, we live in very exciting times. It is so important, I think, for us to realize that it is through learning from others, where others have been, so that we don't start reinventing the wheel and starting to do things that have already been done. We were privileged. Okay, let me say, apart from the fact that one has been working in the oil and gas environment for the past 2 decades, you need to move with the times. And when we come to talk about what is happening now, supposedly in this whole transition issue, you've heard all the speakers speak about the fact that, given the fact that Africa sits on a huge amount of fossil fuels, of which quite a lot of it is gas, and the opportunities that exist for us to be able to utilize that gas for the industrialization. We were privileged, some of us, to be able to put practice into some of the presentations that we've seen today. For example, Gazprom. We were privileged to be able to visit the whole, not the whole, but the value chain which Gazprom operates upon that I think some of the presentations have covered today. So straight from source, we went to the Yamal Peninsula, which is in the Arctic Circle. Very few people have actually been to the Arctic Circle. We were the lucky ones to be able to go to the Arctic Circle in the deep of the cold, minus 60 degrees during winter. This is where the largest gas reserves of Russia are being produced. Privileged to see how from not only the Yamal Peninsula, but all over Russia, the gas is piped centrally, and it goes to the central pipeline and then is redistributed to the production facilities where the gas is treated, and all the processes are followed, and then it is actually distributed throughout the country by various means of transportation, right through to the industries for the use industrialization, for gas to power use, and also, beautifully, we were able to also go to the rural areas, because a lot of people think of Russia as St. Petersburg and Moscow. There are some rural areas, far-flung. Russia is a huge country. And we're able to go to some of the rural areas and actually see how gas is even taken to the last mile, right into domestic use, warming up homes, speaking to people who said, usually in winter it's minus 30 degrees, minus 40, it's difficult to warm up the environment. But ever since the municipality has brought gas into their homes, life has completely changed. So the quality of life has changed in terms of the warmth even of their homes. So you see the whole value chain from an industrialization perspective right down to even a rural area which you might think, you know, could be forgotten and be off the grid. But that wasn't the case. So we've managed to actually understand what goes behind it, the type of infrastructure that you need to put, which is quite a lot of infrastructure that you'd have to put behind such a process. So it becomes very important then to, I think, to echo my colleagues' words here. Collaboration with people that already know what they're doing, have done it, have got the experience in doing it, and also being able to have a positive impact in the industrialization of the country, and also have an impact on the communal lives. Because I think once you if you industrialize and you're not able to take along the people, then you might end up with different dynamics in your society. So it is possible, colleagues. I want to say that it is possible. And we shouldn't only think about export. I think one of the beautiful things we also learned is, or saw, is that a lot of the gas that's produced in Russia itself is used for domestic development. And this is somewhere, I think, where we need to get to. Here in our continent, we need to do regional collaboration with our neighboring countries and find out how we can increase the economies of scale to create those markets that can use the gas. So it is something that's possible. I would urge us, as we go along on this journey, to think about how can we actually, I think the investors here, they're business people, they're entrepreneurs, how can we actually be able to positively contribute towards increasing our participation in this value chain called gas? I always say, Ryan, one thing is that we will all be forgiven by the previous generation for not becoming wealthy on the back of diamonds and gold, because it happened when it happened. I think none of us in this generation will be forgiven by the current generation if we cannot utilize the current opportunity that is actually being provided by the use of gas and the use of nuclear fuel to be able to change the trajectory of the growth of our economies. So I'd really encourage all the participants in the conference to be able to start thinking differently about the manner in which we conceive some of these ideas. Nobody is saying that, you know, we shouldn't be using green energy either. By the way, nuclear energy, as you've heard, is considered to be green energy as well. The SMRs are things that can open up opportunities in South Africa, because if you have small modular reactors which are easy to construct and put in the different communities that we have, that's another way to go. So I think there are huge opportunities, there are very innovative solutions that have been found, and we're not going to be able to do it on our own. We need to be able to tap into the knowledge and the experience of other countries and companies that have done it before. Thanks, Ryan.
Ms. Sizwe, thank you so much for those passionate words. It is always an absolute pleasure to have you in our presence. I actually wanted to ask you one question, if you don't mind. How do you see the collaboration between the nuclear industry and the gas industry going forward to make it a success in Africa?
So, Ryan, I think there are different approaches depending on which country you're looking at. But if I could give a generic answer, in Russia, for example, you've got different companies. You've got Rosatom, that's dealing with the nuclear aspect. You've got Gazprom dealing with the gas aspect, and all the different companies. So in South Africa, in particular, or on the continent as well, I think it's important to each country will look at its situation, find whether they've got the relative policy. First of all, policy area that allows you to participate in that area. Once that exists, it's about looking at whether there exists a company. In some countries, we've got state companies that are involved in some of these activities. In other countries, you don't have state companies, you've got the private sector. Encouraging the private sector as well to work hand in hand with the government policy makers and went hand in hand with the regional approach, because remember, we've got the issue of market here. So some countries on an individual basis, you might not be able to create the necessary market that gives you the economies of scale. So let's look at also regional collaboration in terms of solutioning for our energy going forward. For example, in Southern Africa, we've got already an existing platform which is called the SADCC. We've also got other existing platforms in different parts of Africa, those regional existing bodies in East Africa, in West Africa. Nothing wrong with starting to look at, is there a way of harmonizing policies in terms of looking at whether we can, as a bloc, collaborate instead of trying to do it on a country-by-country basis. So really, I think that the key word here, the key word is about collaboration. How do we effectively collaborate so that we can open up the opportunities at a government level, policy, and then make it an enabling environment for the private sector to be able to participate, because you've created scale, which allows that collaboration to be positive on either side.
Thank you very much, Nsizwe. Again, I think the word of the day is collaboration.
Yeah.
In the spirit of synergy, let's delve deeper into Rosatom's innovative offerings. I invite Mr. Ilya Vergizaev from Rosatom Energy Projects to give us a presentation on Rosatom's offering in terms of small modular reactors as a key to addressing energy poverty and advancing sustainable energy in Africa.
Thank you very much. Dear colleagues, Ryan, thank you very much. I'm very happy being here. And small modular reactor is a new topic which is coming for our view. Before coming to the main slides, let me recall to the discussion which Mr. Arseev started. It's sustainable energy is a part of Rosatom strategy, is the main goal. And from October 2022, Rosatom is a member of United Nations Global Compact, is the largest international initiative in business, and it's an area of corporate social responsibility and sustainable development. Actually, the topic is quite interesting and complex, and actually helps to solve a wide range of problems which appear in different parts of the world, in different regions. And for example, nuclear medicine is a part of nuclear technologies, provides a high level of health care and quality of life. Far more atomic technology is a part of for instance, desalination and water treatment is a right access to the clean water. And Rosatom activity in nuclear reactor is a nuclear science and technology, is access to the development of a people, is education and innovation and so far. So please consider the global complex part as a circle of initiatives, so making us as a global company. But coming back to the topic of small modular reactor, I would like to speak about our products which could be based on land-based, on floating NPPs, based on reactor Ritman 200, which is quite famous, and Russia built already 6 icebreakers, so it's a reference already. So we could really rely on this reactor, being sure that it's very reliable and working for in all our, let's say, circumstance and all parts, let's say, which is used already in Russia in the Arctic area, but we use it in different areas as well. So it's started being under already on the load in PVEC. It's already working 2 years. So it's a first barge which is located in the north of Russia. So it's already on the line, giving electricity to industrial clients and to the city. So helping the people to survive in the quite cold area, let's say, and really feeling good being supported by such as a source of electricity. Based on this product, we came a little bit farther and created new type of Rhythm 200s. And our product we are going to promote, and really we see huge demand already, and from Russian companies and from world companies as well, which is capacity is already increased from 77 megawatts up to 100 megawatts, and the duration of fuel cycle, let's say, increased up to 10 years instead 3 years, and design life coming up to 60 years instead 40 years. So we, of course, consider this type of a barge or, let's say, electricity source for isolating parts of the world. For instance, again, in Russia, we're using quite demanded on the Arctic area of Russia, which no electricity lines, and but it's a real combination already with mining companies or with our industrial clients who would like to develop the area, for instance, of course, mostly for industrial aims, but of course for population as well. Benefits for African economy, but I would say it's for every country, but very interesting for approach for African economies, not only in energy, of course. Energy sector is, of course, stable power-based load, that's clear, but it's public income, unemployment will be solved, so people will be getting a job for many years. It's, you know, that Barsh is actually, and there is a nuclear power plant, is constructed for 60 years, we say, but really the horizon we see it's 100 years, let's say, something like that. And national development as well. So as we usually say, each dollar or each ruble which is invested getting you three times more. So let's say it's real global impact of economy on social life, and really change minds, I would say so. And for instance, as Ryan told, this is a link between, you know, nuclear and gas, let's say. We would like to say that it's first step, of course, it's possible to burn gas and oil just for energy, but it's a little bit, maybe it's not primitive, but let's say it's first approach. Actually, we think that it's better to use gas and oil for second or third even, like say, technological steps, let's say, using for instance, is direct selling for export, which gives you the figures on the right part of the slide are shown, big impact on economy. And secondly, maybe, for sure it's better to use it for chemistry and for other industrial purposes, which make your profit higher twice, let's say. So it's, for instance, here is the figures. According to one unit of floating NPP, it's 100 megawatts. So it's analog of per year, it's almost 1 million megawatt, and which gives you 80 millions of cubic meters of natural gas or 500 barrels of oil annually. So I think it's a good exchange, or good change even. And the same figures, I mean, not the same approach shown on this slide for land-based NPP based on Rhythm 200s, which figures are also quite interesting. Thank you for your attention. Actually, but I would like to emphasize, Rosatom offers large-scale reactors, but also small modular reactor and micro reactors as well. So in atomic energy, I mean, we are not, if we're concerned about nuclear electricity sources, is full range of products, and please welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Vergizaev, for that insightful presentation. Today, we are honored to have with us a luminary in the field of nuclear services and engineering, Mr. Francis Carruthers, the General Director of Lesedi Nuclear Services. Mr. Carruthers' journey through the energy sector has been remarkable. He served diligently at Eskom, contributing significantly at various power stations, and later made notable contributions at Framatome at the Koeberg Nuclear Power Station. His entrepreneurial spirit shone through when he transformed Intense into a thriving engineering and project management organization, and went on to co-found Lesedi Engineering. Mr. Carruthers' wealth of experience and innovative approaches have continued to make significant impacts in the electricity production sector. We are immensely grateful to have such a distinguished expert amongst us today. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Francis Carruthers to share his valuable insights and comments on the sessions and presentations of today. Thank you. Francis.
Thanks, and welcome to, and good afternoon to everybody here. I feel quite overwhelmed by, I don't think I have much of a chance to do much public speaking, and you've got some amazing speakers here that have really set the stage of this discussion between nuclear collaboration with oil and gas. And I'm very glad I didn't write a speech, because the CB just took everything that I was going to say and collectionized it completely. But I would like to emphasize a few things, and where I've been, and my experience has really been forward. So Africa is hungry for power. There's absolutely no doubt about it. We need power in Africa. And we've got a huge unemployment situation in Africa as well. The youth of Africa is not being deployed, and we need to join those two forces together, whether it is with gas or with nuclear. And I think sometimes when we're talking about nuclear, often people say to me, what have you been doing? And I say, and I work in the nuclear industry. Oh, that's terrible. It's, it's bombs, explosives. And you get this context that people haven't been educated in the nuclear environment properly. And I lay that at the base of people in the nuclear industry. They don't come and explain and follow through that explanation of the safety of nuclear. Nuclear generation is incredibly well established, and you can see the experience of Rosatom, and I think it's a very, very important component what they showed you today. The fact is that they're working in 30, I think you said 10 countries, 33 units that's under construction, and you're #1 in the world of NPF, because you've built up a large amount of continuity of the experience you've had and the technology, constantly developing that technology to become #1. And you've worked in 33 countries, 10 countries. And that's also another thing. Most of the big power plants in the world, I think there's something like 440 nuclear units in the world, over 100 in America, 70 in France. But do you see them being built in the rest of the world? Very few of them. France maybe has built some, and Germany's built some in South America, etc. So they've got a huge experience of working in different countries. And I think that's also very important, because the key, I think, to the collaboration and regional collaboration you were talking about whether it's in West Africa or East Africa, is to collaborate, to find a way to localize part of that new build, whether it's a big block or SMRs. But I still think that the SMRs are the game changer for Africa because of the size, because of the lack of transmission infrastructure there is in Africa. You can really see, if we collaborate, maybe building some industry, the type of requirements and resources required to build a nuclear plant is, and it's the same, by the way, for gas infrastructure. You need a huge amount of skilled labor, whether it's welders, pipe fitters, engineers, non-destructive testing. So you need to start building the resource capacity to be able to get involved in this field. So my thinking is that we should be focusing on this development of the skills in Africa to be able to go and deliver the projects that I think that what you're talking about today. And I think it's very important, localization. We were talking about it in the regions from the point of view of involving the local communities and getting the cohesive development going. So I really thank Rosatom for their presentations today, because it's very informative to see what they have done, not just in Russia, but externally to Russia. They're currently building a plant in Egypt, and you've also in Turkey and other places. So they really do have an idea of what to do, not in their own country, but in other countries, and they can bring that into Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Francis. I think you touched on some very pertinent points and issues as well, and one of them being the perception of nuclear. And I think that is something as an industry that we really do need to work on. I think it is something that is getting better. But perhaps, Jan, you could give us some insights. You spoke earlier about the floating nuclear power plants. Going forward, do you think that these floating nuclear power plants would be a good solution for Africa? And if so, how do we educate the population about the benefits of such an innovative project?
Thank you very much again for the opportunity. I'm very impressed with the novel idea to take a water-cooled reactor, which has been used and under development for many, many years, and make that small by some innovations so that it can be placed in a barge, a floating reactor. And so it's actually very safe. The other advantage is that you don't need to put new fuel in quite often. I think it's 10 years, so this is another big advantage. And of course, the sea around South Africa is sometimes rough, but I imagine that that should not be a problem, that these barges are very stable. So how to go forward? I think 100 megawatts electricity is quite sufficient for many smaller cities. And of course, Africa also has huge potential for a floating reactor. So if one thinks about all the issues that one would have to get approval to build a nuclear reactor on land, you know, I've been involved also in the attempts in the Eastern Cape to build a reactor in Taspent. And, you know, the people in that area was very much against that because it's holiday resort. There are small animals also that walk around there, and, you know, now, in the end, if one wants electricity, good, sustainable, clean electricity, you have to go nuclear, and we will have to build nuclear reactors on land. But in the interim, I think the floating reactor is really a very novel idea that should be investigated, and one should inform the public about the advantages of this. I mean, we have to make a choice whether we want to destroy the economy completely and not provide opportunities for young people, or we go the other way and start to plan ahead and bring in additional nuclear energy to save South Africa. Just one additional question that I would have, and I did ask you before, but perhaps the experts here should also be asked. If one wants to place your SMR inland, how much water would you need to cool it? Can a small dam, would that be sufficient to cool this reactor?
It's the same proportion as for large one. I mean, the same like for large scale. I mean, could be enough, yes.
Yeah, because I can understand if one places it near the coast, we have the seawater to cool, but if one wants to put it in, far away from the sea, inland, of course, and we don't have in South Africa big rivers, so you would need to get a dam that would have enough water to cool it down. If this can be done, then of course it has huge opportunities also for certain mining industries in Africa which requires energy.
Usually for land-based, of course, we will be using inside of a territory, because for cost, we'll be using floating. Your question about cooling, but as usual, we should make some work, pre-feasibility study to understand if water is enough. But in case of lack of water, we'll be using dry cooling equipment. Actually, it's possible. So it's zero consumption then finally. So it's like the same like a big scale. I mean, large scale, but divided by 10, let's say.
Yes.
So should be okay. So we don't feel any question on that. Absolutely.
So the next step then would be, Ryan, to do more detailed feasibility studies of how we can introduce SMRs, along the coast and also inland.
Thank you, Jan. Francis, one last question for you. We've got aging coal-fired power plants in our country, and there are thoughts around what could be done with the sites once those coal-fired power plants are decommissioned. There's thoughts around perhaps gas, there's thoughts around perhaps renewables, but what are your thoughts about potentially putting small modular reactors to replace existing coal-fired power plants? Thank you.
The challenge that I think the utility has, and Eskom has, and South Africa has, that they've built up communities around those existing power stations. And those communities, if you shut those power stations down completely and decommission them, what's going to happen to those communities? Number one. So you have to replace it with something. Now, I think a small modular reactor, because some of these plants have already, they're not necessarily nuclear licensed, but they're licensed for generating power at a certain value, around about maybe 1,000 megawatts. You could put several smaller units down there. They have already the connection to the grid. You have the community of the people to be able to go and work on the plant. So I would be entirely for exploring that possibility. And I think that they're quite well spaced out, so it's also not a problem to be able to live. And I think if you can get the economy of scale of doing some local manufacturing as well, putting 3 or 4 units there, 3 or 4 units, I think it would be an excellent idea. Plus the fact, of course, as you know, we like to also maybe manufacture the fuel in South Africa eventually.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, unfortunately we are running out of time, so I'm going to suggest that the questions continue outside, and the discussions don't stop. I think this is just the beginning. In closing, allow me to express my profound gratitude to all of our speakers and participants for their invaluable contributions today. Your insights have indeed illuminated the pathways towards a more energized and prosperous African future. At Rosatom, our commitment to empowering Africa with bespoke energy solutions remains steadfast, always resonating with technological brilliance, enduring partnerships, and nuanced appreciation of Africa's diverse energy landscapes. Thank you all for joining us today. Here's to collectively empowering Africa's vibrant future together. In the last show of collaboration tonight, please enjoy drinks at reception. The drinks are kindly and very generously sponsored by Lesedi Nuclear Services, so enjoy.